Good morning, good Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos, Parshas, Mahar B'chakesei, Shabbos Chazak, Shabbos Mberchen, Molei Brachas, Ale Yanim Asadah. We are holding in Hilchas Malve Vloveh, and we're going to discuss a halacha that has to do with shtaros and Malve Vloveh, and this halacha also in Gittin. The Rambam in Perek Chav Daled Halacha Vav writes, Eidim she'ein yedim lachsen. Eidim that don't know how to write. Just have to note that it does exist. I've been at weddings with the ksubas and watching some of the people writing, signing was not easy. The kara lehem niyar cholek. You cut out a paper. The chasmu al harashum. They sign on on what's already sort of outlined. Makin oison makas mardus. You beat them up with makas mardus, which is a drabbanandikis makas that doesn't have a amount. Like the Raisa, there's amount. Drabbanan, you just get the message across. And the hashtar possible. And the Rambam adds that the shtar is also possible. The makar of the Rambam is in Sechtes Gittin Daf Yutes, where there's a big discussion about different options what to do. And the Rambam brings the different options in different places. And that is what to do. One of them is to do exactly what he writes here, regarding Gittin, that is. And Rav Papa writes another option, which the Rambam brings in Hilchas Gittin, is to use spit and outline and write the letters, and then you write on top of that. And that's the solution in Gittin. And the Gemara Fiat is that V'hanim mila begittin aval b'shtaros loy. Don't do it in shtaros. And then the Gemara adds the following: Dahuda alvid uvda b'shar shtaros. He did these type of solutions for the aid of the sign in shtaros, not Gittin. The Nagdei Rav Kana gave him makas magas. Now, the Rashba there brings two opinions, and that is, one opinion is the opinion of the Rambam that says that if you do it, the shtar is possible, and the Rashba writes the words, the shtara chaspa ba'almahu, kimi she'ein olav edim klal. This shtar is like a piece of earthenware that has no value, and as if there is nothing written on it, no edim. And he writes even more so, a bigger chiddush. Even if he gave it in front of Eidei Mesira, which we know that by Gittin, that's what you need, Eidei Mesira. No, it's Mezuyev Mitayche. It's considered that since a person looks at it, he sees this psul of Eidus, that's considered, it's a puzzle Eidus written in it, that's it. The even Mesira won't help. And brings another opinion that no, since it says Nagdei Rav Kana, he gave him Malkus. So obviously it's not possible. Now, otherwise, why would he beat him up? Just puzzle, throw it out. The Maggid Mishnah says Bum Faket. He brings the Rashba and he says the Raya to the Rambam, because why would he beat him up? Why would he get Makas Mardas if it's kosher? What did he do wrong? Yeah, throw it out. It's a bad. The parent says because you can use it. Therefore, it's a Raya that it's possible. You shouldn't use it. Okay, so there are two opinions whether it's kosher or possible. In Hilchis Gerish and Perek Aleph Halacha Chav Gimel, the Rambam writes. Now, here's where we're going to spend a little time to analyze what is a shtar b'chlal, to understand the shtar. And once we understand the shtar, we'll try to get a picture of what's wrong with the system. Why? The guy signed, bottom line. He signed on the get. Good, so he needed help. So the Rambam writes there that Adam that sign a get, they don't know how to sign. So he brings that what I told you, that he writes, you use reik and spit, and then, or any other thing that doesn't remain. In other words, eventually what they wrote does come through. And they write, but he writes clearly, don't do this in other stories, like he says here. Why not? So he says because by Gitei Noshim, by a get, they specifically allowed this. So he writes sort of two reasons. One, so that Jewish women should not remain agunas, which everybody knows the problems today with agunas, different issues, but agunas means, and unfortunately there have been historical issues of agunas when there were tak agunas. So here we don't want women not to be able to get married. And then he adds, Hoyil v'chasima se'edem beget midivreim. B'chlal, the Rambam Paskins, as we know, the edem is sirikais. You don't need the edem chasim. Although we'll see soon that he does hold that the edem chasim are good by themselves too. Okay, so right now we have like this. We have shtaros, ba'alma, money, shtaros, money contracts with a signature of such matter is also, according to the Rambam. Gittin is kosher. And the reason is special dispensation given to Gittin because of its importance to the Jewish woman. The Gemara in Gittin over there has another story, another shaila. We know about shtaros, Gittin. Now let's talk about Shabbos. If somebody writes like this on Shabbos, so the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan and Shlakish say, you're chayiv. Once because of kaisim, once because of meichik. You erase the other one and you write yours. And then he brings this shaila. What about by a get? Could we do this? Could he write on another ksav? Ksav agabi ksav? So he answers, no, ain't ksav. It's not considered a signature. So he says, but in Shabbos you just told me it is. He said that Yechayiv Mishum Ksaisim. So the Gemara here in Masechta Gittin writes the following words. A very strange expression, which again, I don't know Shas, but I believe it's a rare expression. What does that mean? So of course we have to look to Rashi. Rashi's pshat in this, at least, is Sha'anu oimdin usvurin v'oimdim oimid libeinu lahachme. In Shabbos, it's not. We're convinced that it's a ksav. It's a suffix. So therefore, we say don't do it. Therefore, nasa ma'isa lahakel. So we're going to allow it and Gittin. And Rashi adds, "Afilu le'inyan Shabbos and ba ma'isa liyadeinu b'zman beis hamikdash la'yinus la'yisi soymach al dvarai lahabi chul nazara." Even though I said chayiv shtayim, I don't really mean it. I don't mean chayiv shtayim. This is what he's having charot on what he said. And not charot. He's translating. Chayiv shtayim means suffix. Don't bring a carbon because it's chul nazar. So, according to Rashi's reading of this Gemara, it seems clear, and in truth, it fits into the words of the Gemara. Not that I know what those words mean, but the words, once Rashi translates it, we can at least put it into the words. Medamin nasa ma'isa. Medamin is a dimion, like a daemon. Surim v'oimdim. It's like an estimation, but it's not a fact. However, the Rambam disagrees with Rashi. In Hilchos Shabbos, Perik Yud Aleph Halacha Zayin, the Rambam writes clearly, and that's it. He doesn't write that it's a suffix. Chayiv Shtayim. When the Rambam writes Chayiv Shtayim, he says Chayiv Shtayim. And the Makemes HaMishnah over there asks, what do you mean? The Gemara says it's not Chayiv Shtayim. It's only Medamin. So obviously the Rambam has some other take in the sugi. What is it? So we see like this. So it comes out, according to the Rambam, you have to say that when it comes to Hilchos Shabbos, it's a ksav. Comes to Hilchos Gittin, it's not a ksav. Why? Now, you could say, because we need a clarity of ksav. We need something that has a cheshivas of ksav for a chasima. Maybe. However, there's an interesting Gemara Masechtas Gittin, Malve Vloveh. Gemara says, Ram Gamliel said, Takona Gedelis Kino. They made a big takona, which the Rambam quotes in other places in the different shaynis, but that you have to write out your names on a get in order to help the woman in case later there's a problem and she needs proof of her divorce. So the Gemara there discusses you have to write out your name. What about if I write my name with a picture? I don't actually write my name. I write pictures. But we see that Amirayim used to make pictures. Rav Tzayer Kura, they would make pictures of a fish or different things. And so the one says, Shani Rabbanon, the Bikiyim Simanayim. The people knew their Simanim. So you know your Siman, the Chasimin must not sweat. So their Siman is just as good as a writing. So we see clearly you don't need a writing. You don't need something that's called writing. You need something that's called, that identifies you. So what's wrong with signing a document with somebody else who outlined to you if it identifies your Ksav? Somehow or another, you're there, you're signing. Now, also, why did we go to the extreme? And this is one of the tainas that the Rashba has. If in Gittin it's kosher, why did we make it possible? Not only kosher, but we let him do it. And why did we make it possible when it comes to Shar Shtaris? And why'd you go to such an extreme? All right, so these are not my questions. These are questions that are asked. I want to just try to understand the Rambam. And that's what our job is over here on the Shir. There's a Yerushalmi. Now it's clear from the Yerushalmi that it sounds different than Bavli. Not just the sound, but the words. When Rabbi Yochanan responds to the question, he doesn't say Mepnei she'anu medam. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan, Mepnei she'anu oiskin behilchis Shabbos, anu matirin as eishes ish. Because we're involved in Hilchis Shabbos, we're going to be matir and eishes ish. Now, again, you could learn it the way Rashi learns that, but the Lashon doesn't sound that. It sounds that, no, Hilchis Shabbos and eishes have no shaykhs to each other. And then the Gemara asks a question. If you do this, isn't that the Ksav Yoda Sharishon? And then the Gemara gives an answer to that. So, first of all, and again, this is the part of this. I've seen some other places want to try to say that the Rambam's Makkah and Yerushalmi from a different Eifim, but I believe that these words of the Yerushalmi Neishanu Oiskim Bil Shabbos and Matir and Seisashish is the source of the Rambam. That it's not a charota, it's not a chazorah what he said, and it's not changing what he said. It still stays. It's just that Shabbos and Eishes have nothing to do with each other. And then when he writes, the question is, what is the question of Ksav Yoda Sharishon? What does that mean? What's the question? I mean, does he mean to say that, therefore what? It's not a Ksav, it's a Ksav. Perhaps, and again, suggestion, that the Rambam is reading into this Yerushalmi, that the Chesron is not because it's not a Ksav. It's a Ksav. And in Shabbos, Chayiv Shtayim. It's just not his Ksav. There's a lack of his ownership of the Ksav. And that's the way he learned Pshat Yesham. V'lo Ksav Yoda Sharishon. Now to understand this, perhaps we have to get a better understanding of what a shtar is. As we know, and I know, if we do know, we don't know, but there's a famous Rambam that anybody who ever learns Hilchis Shtaris, Gittin, these things has to come across. The Rambam in Hilchis Edus, which we're still going to learn. The Rambam, famous Rambam, Din Teirish Ein Mekabel Edus Lebedin Mamas Lebedin Fashalim Pia Edus. You cannot write anything, and which is halacha, PM Olympic sub. No. So where do we get a star from? Amo Medivrei Sefer. Shechoitchin Dinei Mamanis Be'edish Rishon. That we do use an Edish. That's a Drabbana. And the reason was to save the commerce. It was a commerce, to save commerce and that should continue going on, that people should be able to lend money to others and be able to borrow money who need, and otherwise it won't be any business going on. And there won't be anybody being able to get a loan like a mensch. So it would seem that a aid in a shtar is considered mipiyam v'lo pik sava, not acceptable. In Hilchis Gershon, now here we're talking about a get, which is not anymore it's just stam on Indian. It's allowing a woman to get married, allowing it's nullifying her, it's taking off her previous marriage. Rambam writes again, Hakonis Chacham Mishiyedim Chayson al Get, that Adam should sign on a get. Shema Yitin Laget, if nation Hayim, maybe you'll give a get in front of two people, the Amusu, they will die. But him, Saget should be on the Kecheres, Nicheres Adomo, Shein Arei. It'll be the get that he has, which was given over in front of Adam Asir, has no value because it can't be brought in the best. Therefore, Tiknu Sheya'idu Miteich. Therefore, the Adam have to testify through the get. And then he writes, but Hayat, you should do it with Adam Asir. Now, but just note, in Allah Zayin, the next Allah he writes, what happens if you Adam signed on the get, and they gave it over without Adam Asir, or that the Adam Asir were not kosher? It's still a kosher get, because the Adam signed on it. The Ramban screams, what are you talking about? That how could you say that it's Mipiyavel and Biksav, and here you're going to say that it's a good get? How can the two Rambams of what he writes that a star is no good because of Biyam and Biksav, and here you tell me that a star is good. A Chasima a star is allows for getting, for a whole get. Okay, so there's so much been said about it. And there's a famous Reb Chaim in Hilchis Eidos, that there are two types of shtaras, and there's a shtar, the raya, and there's a shtar that makes something happen. And therefore, when the Rambam in Hilchis Eidos is talking about shtar is to be proofs later, but the shtar that creates at the time, that has a din of a shtar. That's a chassid. It's a known piece, and anybody who knows it knows how much has been written about these ideas. There's a lot of discussion about that. Perhaps we can add a little addition to that with the ideas that what we mentioned before. We asked, what's this Ye'idu Miseichei? What is that supposed to mean? And perhaps that's the Rambam's definition of the difference between the two shtaris. Minatera. Minatera, you can't use a written words of an Adam to use into Bezdin. You know, it's Bezdin, they write down their Adam, and then the Bezdin reads the testimony. But Minatera, you could create, as long as your signature creates the testimony itself. It's not you're testifying through writing. That signature is the testimony, meaning it creates the din. As the Chaim says, it creates the chalais of the get, it creates the chalais of the kinyan. That's your idum misayche. That's their edim are talking through the get. It's not the edim are testifying and we're reading what they say. We're reading a transcripts of their testimony. No, this is their the whole misayda, the testimony begins and ends with their signature. And that's why it works, because it's Haggadah Seidus. It's as if they're talking about it. And that fits with the famous statement that's brought in Rambam and Halacha and all over Eidem, Achasum, and Mashtar, Arein, Kemish, and Echke, Dusam, and Bezin. And the Rambam in Hilchis Eidus writes, She'eidem, Achasum, Mashtar, Arein, Kemish, and Echke, Dusam, Bezin, Be'ez HaChasima. No, this is what the signature is talking. It's talking through writing. Concept of ksiva kedibur. That writing is a dibur. It's not the ksiva kedibur of maybe even Hashaykh said that. But that's the nekuda. It is the testimony through, and it's another way of a dibur. Whereas in generally, that's not. So perhaps what's going on here in Ksav al Gabe Ksav, since it has to be a testimony of the Edom, it has to be a unique testimony of Edom. I cannot say over from somebody else. I mean, similar, and again, I don't mean it to build on that. I just want to give an example. There's a concept that if an aide comes in the bed and says, you know what, I'm testifying on from somebody else's, what I heard somebody else say. That's called aid nipiyah. It's not good. Okay, here's not aid nipiyah, but it's the idea of edus needs to be a unique edus. I am saying my edus. If my edus is based on somebody else's, if my ksav is somebody else's ksav, I am lacking in my unique edus. It's not my Haggadah. It's somebody else's Haggadah that I'm repeating, so to speak. And that's why it has nothing to do with the halacha of Shabbos. Of course it's ksav, but it's not my ksav. It's not my edus. It's not my Haggadah. Therefore, it's irrelevant. Faket. We don't need a ksav. We need an Haggadah that's unique to you. I can make a form. I can make a picture that's unique to me. If it's my unique picture, I guarantee that if I would draw a picture, it would be totally unique to me because nobody else can draw like I can draw because I don't know how to draw. But that's the word. It's unique to these people. Okay, nobody would know about it, but they're Chachamim, they knew. Said no shaykh is the Shabbos. No shaykh is the Shabbos. We're talking about God the Seidus. And therefore, they're two separate things. I think it works out very nicely in the Rambam that if that's true. I want to just add, just to bring into the discussion, a very interesting concept. The Hagoyis Oshri Gittin, the second parak, Simiyud Beis, brings from Rabbeinu Simcha. Phenomenal idea, which I haven't seen it in the Rambam, but he brings it down. And there's a lot to discuss about it. That is, we know that if a person has to write a get, what does he do? He doesn't go to, he can't write the get. He goes to a sefer and he makes him a shliach to write the get. Right? The sefer is a shliach to write the get. Now that's according to Rabbi Lazar that holds a day Mesira Karsi. How did he do that? The get is the main thing is the written get, not the signatures don't count, nothing counts. The main thing is a written get given over. It doesn't the saying the Torah v'kosav lo sefer krisus. Torah says you can have a shliach. Rab Meir argues and says v'kosav ein v'kosav elo v'kosav. Kosav means signature. Zok Rabbeinu Simcha that if somebody can't sign, he can say shliach to sign. He can have somebody sign for him. Just like you can have somebody write for you, according to Rabbi Lazar, you can have somebody sign. And therefore, it'll be a kosher get. Okay, I'm just mentioning it because it opens up a whole Pandora's box here in this sugya. And the shaila is that considered a Shati Achlazima, which we just learned about yesterday a little bit, and so forth. So it's really a whole broad discussion for itself, but I'm just throwing it out to know that there is such a discussion and there's a lot to talk about. That thing. Now, I just want to go back. One thing that I think I forgot to mention is that since the edus that the chachamim, the edus that does work is a haggadas edus, so now we can understand. So we can understand why the Chachamim, according to the Rambam, passled when you don't do it right. Because we know Tiknei Chacham can call the Tiknei Chacham can the Raisa Tiknei. They came along and said, we're going to extend this for Dinim Amanis, the idea of a Godas Eidus with Techaksa. We're going to give it a Din Godas Eidus with Techaksa. But if it's not the right way, it's not good. If in the Midrash it'll be possible, it says possible in the Rabban. So it makes sense why the Rambam passes, going back to the original halacha, why the Rambam passes it, even though it's kosher b'diavad by Gittin. Kosher b'diavad by Gittin, that's because, we made a special takana. But the etzem, it should be possible, so therefore we understand here it's possible also. Okay. Everybody have a great Shabbos, a good Tavach, a good Yor, und Hatzlocha Rabbi Moshe Perlstein. Sei gesund.